So in this session, we will be revisiting literature through music, and our panel members will be Dr. Adyasha Das, Dr. Sangita Gosain, and Mr. Omprakash Mohanty. I welcome you all to the stage.
Very good afternoon to all of you present here. For the three of us, and on both my sides, we have the great pillars of Odia music. And for the three of us, it has become a customary experience to be a part of Odisha Art and Literature Festival. So once a year, we get together here to talk about music, to talk about literature, to talk about what happens when both of them meet. Do they meet? Do they collide? Do they indistinguishably become one? What exactly happens? What is that magical process when music and literature meet? And the theme for this afternoon's session is revisiting literature through music. I just believe it's a jugglery of words. We basically are talking about the same thing, that what impact literature has on music and what influence music has on literature. So to begin with, I think I should be giving a small note about what historians and what theorists have said. Leo Tolstoy had once written in one of his books that music is the shorthand of emotion. And emotion, constitutes the backbone of both music as well as literature. There are several quotes, but I will just share one or two with you. We have Heinrich Heine, who said, "Where words leave off, music begins." So I will be asking my panelists about what really happens. Is it that when words get over, music begins, or music is there and words fill it in? What exactly is the process? So at this juncture, before I get on with the rest of the panel, may I have the extreme honor and privilege of introducing the panelists for this session. We have with us Dr. Sangita Gosain, a very famous and well-known name in Odissi music. And I don't think she can actually be limited to one genre like Odissi, but she probably dapples with everything. The CEO of the Odissi Research Center, the person who conceptualized this auditorium, so a special thanks to you for that. A professor in Utkal University of Culture, a great organizer, and above all, a person who is eternally in love with music. On my other side, I have a person who is a personal role model, a role model to many people in Odisha, a person who has, by means of his sheer creativity and innovation, carved a special niche for himself in the field of music direction, music composition, none other than Shri Omprakash Mohanty, popularly known as Mittu Bhai. And well, I don't know how many of you know, but Mittu Bhai is a wonderful singer. He's of course a dreamer and he's a philosopher as well. So when you put all this together, you have a wonderful composer. And he has done some wonderful work in the field of Odia literature. So I think, armed with these two special panelists, we are about to have an extremely amazing session. So let me just continue with what I was saying, that the capacity of music to disclose the inner workings of the universe has happened ever since, history began, as far back as the earlier Christian thoughts. And the relationship between music and the word, and the capacity of a literary work to be imagined musically, has happened since times immemorial. So when we are talking about, people who have used music as a kind of backbone to help their literature, we have several names. Like you see the romantics like William Blake and Keats. You have Tennyson, you had Rabindranath Tagore, you have Mayadhar Mansingh, and several others. So this is not something which is limited to Odia culture, it is a universal phenomenon. Music, art, poetry, literature are often on similar paths in addressing the one common thing, that is a common impulse, though the timing may vary. So the medium with which we are expressing is different, but the idea and thought is the same. So before I start sounding a little boring, let me first ask Dr. Gosain, what actually comes first, literature or music? According to you, what comes first?
Thank you, Adyasha. And it's a good question, whether literature came first or the music. So you can always say if the egg or the chicken. So nobody can say, but literature was not there at all when the words were created, but before the words were created, so with only the signs, we were communicating. But gradually, taking the sounds from nature, so the sounds were taken out, and with the groans of or different animals and the chirping birds, the sounds. So gradually, perhaps a language took the shape. But when we go back to the 7th or 8th century when the Charyapadas came and all, but before that, music was there. So definitely we can say music came first, because music is the sound, the nada, which is already there from the Om and from the all the cosmic sound, you see. Like some sounds we can hear and some sounds we cannot perceive even. So that is under the control of the saints and gurus. So perhaps when these people started communicating, they formed little words. So to understand something around them. So gradually it became their language. And with that language, instantly, they used to compose, which we call these days a lyric or a dhogga. So those things first came, and then came the literature. When you write something and with proper language, then that is literature. I think so. And then when it is composed in a tune, then it becomes music.
Yeah, thank you. I will actually not add to that, because that was a personal question which was directed to her. So you are free to interpret from that. But yes, this has been a topic of discussion in several forums. What comes first? Is it literature or is it music? And particularly because lyric, the form of literature which music uses, is something which is there in almost every poet. So a lot of poets have also. We'll come back to that discussion later on. But now let me ask Mr. Mohanty, because I think many of you are aware that he has done a lot of work on Odia writers' texts and transformed them musically. So which genre of Odia literature or Indian or literature, in fact, is easily translatable into English? Is it lyric, into music? Is it lyric, or is it fiction? Or non-fiction can you also transform into music? Which one is more easy?
Thanks, Adyasha. How far music is concerned, we all are linked with music knowingly or unknowingly. We do certain things. It's not necessary to be a musician to do music, because everything is in a rhythmic manner. Our cosmic movement, the movement of the planets, everything moves in a rhythmic manner. Our calendar, our watch, they are all musically linked. And the best music, however, this is my personal perception, I don't know you will agree with me or not, our heartbeat is a very nice pattern of rhythm. So a baby, when baby, conception occurs, baby inside the mother's womb listens the heartbeat of the mother, and that is the first training of music, according to me. That's a rhythmic sense. So whether the baby is a musician or not, but they respond to rhythm in a very nice manner, very personal. It's a global syndrome. You just take a baby from New York City, or you go to a remote corner where civilized not get reached. You interact with the baby, they will respond to the rhythm in a very interesting manner. So that is the music we are linked through. And how far literature is concerned, as Adyasha was asking Dr. Gosain, and rightly she said, first come music, then literature. When people had no speech, people go through the anthropology. Neanderthal people, they had no speech, but they had a certain pattern of music, because when they were going inside the woods to have hunting parties and all, when they were returning back with the praise, so they were preparing their food and they were doing some kind of music that was rhythm, not melodic, of course, because they were beating the bones and they're creating some kind of rhythm, and they were dancing. Dancing is a pattern, without rhythm you cannot dance. So music was there right from the beginning, and then came literature. And how about this blending of literature into music? We took the basic elements from the nature. Our ancestors, they made some specified notes. They have given a shape, the musical notes, they are inspired from the nature. They have systematized it, and they call it Saregama Padhani according to Indian notes. And however the Western music is concerned, notes have same names, are only different. They started calling it do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. It's same, but musically notes are same, whether it's Western music or Indian music or folk music or whatever it is. But blending it into the literature, many of our masters, they have done so many wonderful things. And music itself is a literature. Now, when you are putting words to a composition, they are not calling it a musical work or a song or whatever. But our Western composers, they have composed so many theme music like Beethoven, Mozart's. These are all simply instrumental piece of music. But it is having some character, some theme. Their words has got no place in it. They have simply composed it in a different fashion. That is their work, their symphonies based on some themes. So wonderful works they did. And in Indian context, we had some rags. Their literature plays a very less importance, because 2 lines, that is totally musical. So lines is just a sort of support to improvise the raga in Indian music. And latter part, some scholars, they have basically in Indian music was based on devotional music. People were singing some bhajans. Then it traveled further. Now people are making songs. Then movie came into the existence. So literature plays a very vital role in various things, in various forms, like movies, theaters, musical shows, then records. There are a lot of forms of literature. So it is a continuous process, and many experiments are being done. Many composers, they have composed various things, and Rabindranath Tagore just did some wonderful music, and his works are, it is available now, so you can listen to those works. It's tremendous work. So literature is, a very integral part of music now.
Thank you. Yeah, I think what you basically said is there are several forms of literature now, several forms of music, and music and literature today swamped with the technological attack. I call it attack because technology has revolutionized the forms of literature. What you were saying, forms. The forms of literature and music. Now painting goes with literature, painting music goes with literature. There are several combinations available. And a brilliant example of that is the Instagram page and Facebook page. And I do remember, since we are part of the music industry, that the album industry died a premature death? No, a normal death, because it was not premature. The album industry died and the YouTube took over, and I don't know what kind of change will be there next. So adaptability is the key word to success, and naturally literature is adapting. So today you have flash short stories. Okay, you have flash poems, which means you don't need to write a short story which is 11 to 15 pages. You can write a short story of 1 page as well. So the forms are changing, the experimentation is done, and what is the biggest challenge is everyone is a singer and everyone is a writer. So that makes the question of adaptability absolutely imperative because you have to survive. So yeah, that was interesting that we have several genres. I think the post-lunch session is a challenge. So why don't we do a little bit of music, so that we can also help the audience to reach us, because music, a session on music cannot be done without music. And so what I will basically ask both of you, and at the end I will also try to add to that, is take any concept. It can be prema, it can be viraha, it can be national identity, it can be patriotism, it can be devotion, but show us how over time the presentation of the particular quality has changed in literature and music. Okay, because I think we will, after this, come to the topic of commercialization, how commercialization has, created problems for the creation of good literature and music. So I will first ask Dr. Sangita Gosain to give us an example of any one of the concepts, and over time to show us the representation, how the music has changed, and has it matched with the literature, has it changed?
But before I come to this question, I'll again go back to the first question because it needs that. With the first question, I said that literature came later. First came the music. But gradually when the days went by and all these technology developed, so when you come to the grammar of music, basic grammar means I'm talking about the techniques and the basic notes what Mr. Mohanty was explaining. Saregama Padhanisa, there we don't need literature. So music is by itself. But if you don't have the language, before some time Adyasha was asking Mr. Mohanty that whether the fiction or a prose or a lyric, which one is easier to compose. So for that, I want to say that if there was no music, literature wouldn't have been so popular. And the literature, what they write, it will be only in the books. But music is the medium which takes literature all around. I think you will all agree with this. So now, so you wanted to tell me about Okay. Okay, without a rhythm also, there can be many songs. So she was telling about you can take a romantic song or anything. So immediately it comes to my mind one song composed by great Adyasha Mohanty. He used to say, just bring a newspaper. I will just tune it right now. And it was coming out so well and so melodious. So, but this song is a lyric, but which is very, very meaningful. That monoku setiki nabadhile kiye jauthila kahibaku. So I'll just sing the 2 lines. Monoku setiki nabadhile kiye jauthila kahibaku nijo ichhare kiye duniyaku asuthila rohibaku monoku setiki. I think the tuning, how he has done, he has thought of the words First, he took that in what concept it is written. So tried to give expression through notes to each and every word. If this song is sung like that, Manaku setiki na badhile ki ye. Do you get any emotion from that? So this is a role of the composer who has to understand each and every meaning of that. Then only he or she can do the justice. And then comes to the role of the singer who has to reproduce it and make it immortal.
Only you could have picked up that song and only you could have explained it like that. So I think that was wonderful because as you can see, it's a very complicated process. What sounds very easy when you switch on the TV or the radio or your phone, the making of it is a very complicated process. Each word is weighed and it is dyed in music. Which note is actually going to match it, just like making of a fabric. So on this very nice note, let me move on to Mr. Mohanty, same question.
It's a very complicated thing to explain. I don't know. Recently, few days back, we had a film, Hindi film, by, it is some film, name was Padmavat, maybe Sanjay Leela Bhansali. There was a very old bandish, Alvela Sajan Ayore. There was a very old bandish of Indian classical music, Hindustani classical music. That was the bandish was in Rag Ahil Bhairav. But the same lyric, the same literature has been experimented by the filmmaker Sanjay Leela Bhansali. He used the lyric but in a different rag, which is one cannot think it even. The bandish was, it was in Aybar. Alvela sajan ayore moraman hat sukha payore alvela sajan ayore mangal gao chokh purao mangal gao chokh purao sarur sab sukh pai alvela. This was in Ahil Bhairav. But he made a beautiful song, but he changed the rag. He took the same lyric. He did it in Bhopali. I'm forgetting the note. Do Bhopali tell me? Alvela sajan ayore mora man at sukh payore alvela sajan ayore mangal gao chokh purao mangal gao chokh purao manat sukh payore alvela. You see, it is a very challenging job for a musician to do it because Alvela Sajan Ayore is a very old bandish. As you know, it's very famous bandish. Almost all the exponents of Indian classical music, they sing this. But one cannot think of it. It can be a film song and it can be presented in a different rag. So people, they make experiments and it is well registered. People have accepted it in a very positive way. So this is what music and literature, they keeps on moving. So time keeps on changing. Many people, they are making many kind of experiments. And another example I will give you. You might have heard, it's a very old group, Boney M. Have you heard of Boney M? Yeah. They made a beautiful song on Rasputin. There is a character in Russia, Rasputin. He's a very famous man. made one prose, they converted into a song, which is a very top job for a composer to do, because there lived in Odisha long ago a man. He was big and strong, in his eyes flaming glow. Most of the people looked at him with terror and fear. But for the Moscow chicks, he was such a lovely dear who could preach the Bible like a preacher with full of ecstasy and fire. You see how tough it is to compose. But they did it anyway. There lived a certain man that was so long ago. He was big and strong, in his eyes flaming glow. Most of the people looked at him terror and fear. But the Moscow chicks, he was such a lovely dear who could preach the Bible like a preacher, full of ecstasy and fire. Raw, raw, Rasputin, lover, Russian queen, whose Russia's greatest love machine. So they made it. That was a prose basically. One cannot think of making it a song. So they made it and it became an international hit. So there are many things, but it depends how intelligently the composer is choosing the phrases, how he is composing, and how he is presenting. So these are all nice examples of literature mingled with music.
Thank you. I think that was really wonderfully explained. That like how prose can be transformed, and also how the same song can be presented in two different ways. So now what I will do is I'll also do the same thing basically, like first to talk about how the theme of love, for example, it's all about packaging, how you package. You package in literature, you package in textiles, you package in music, and you package in painting and any other art form. So what is the exact way in which you are packaging when you're writing about love? Okay, so like you have several examples in literature as well. Similarly in music, I'll give you 3 examples how across time the same emotion of love is conveyed. And there's a lot of allegation now that music is being destroyed, and it has, yes, of course, the aspect of commercialization we will take up, but now I'm giving you an example of 3 different periods of this song. The theme is love, missing somebody, all that. But look at the note combination, look at the composition style. And I'm sorry that we don't have the musical accompaniment. The first it's a very, very old song. I think one of the initial radio songs, Dure Kahi Dure. Dure Kahi Dure धुआगारा पारे प्रिय स्मृति बीणा बाजे ओ प्रिय स्मृति बीणा बाजे दूरे काई दूरे. This pattern of composition gradually changed. The very great influence of Odisha is there in this composition. I will not add further because Sangita is sitting. Then we move on to another example, which is again coincidentally it happens to be Nirmala Mishra. It's a very popular Odia cinema gita, and this is Maya Bini Hey Rati Ekakini Jaye Biti Tumaku Janina Tothapi Chalana Sathi Rupe Khoju Thaye Khoju Thaye Khoju Thaye. This beautiful composition, and across time anyone who ever listens will immediately know it is about love, and a companion who is singing for the other one. We come now to Adyasha Mohanty, of course. We cannot leave him out when we are talking about love songs. And this is an eternal composition again. But you can see many of the combinations, many of the notes, the sur is similar, and so they're conveying the right kind of mood. They're creating the right kind of mood. So this is Mana Mura ତାକୁ ବୁଡ଼ାଇ ପାରିବା ପରି ତୁମର ବା କାହିଁ ଏତେ ପ୍ରେମ ମନର। And the whole song is beautiful. So then now we come to the modern era where the so you were talking about the rhythm. So all these three songs are slow. The song that I'm going to tell you now is little fast. Jhumka thila, baju na thila, malaya thila, basana thila, tame chumi gala pare, rupa dina, sunahila, mo jibana. So you can see, this is something which everyone can sing. Maybe dure kahi dure, everyone cannot sing. I don't want to get into a marketing class now. I don't want to talk about which is the segment for which this song was made. But I think it is very clear to you now that how with the same notes we have been do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, as you said. The second example I will give is one lyric. This, of course, wherever I go, I will always give an example of my mother's lyric. This is from her autobiography, Padmapatra Jivana. As Omprakash Mohanty is the composer of that very, very unique musical autobiography, we also thought that we cannot actually make lyrics out of this, fiction. But we asked her to, write lyrics out of the same theme, and this is the theme she made. So, I will first sing the song that was composed by another composer, K. Bhanumati, who is my respected teacher in classical. The song is Tuma Bina Banchi Hue Bhabitam Nathili Dile. So the composition she made was like this. She took it as a very sad song, like one partner is no more and the other one is singing. So you just see the difference, how it was made. The song was Tuma Bina Banchi hue bhabita nathili dine, bhabita nathili dine, tuma bina gai hue bharosa nathila mane, tuma bina and it touched the heart of many listeners. But when we made the song, Mittu Bhai did not want to make it a sad song. He said, why? What is sad about a parting? Let's not call it death. Are all partings about death? It can be a temporary parting. We are living in an age of temporary relationships. It can be a divorce. It can be a temporary separation. So this was the song he made. Tuma bina banchi hue bhabita nathili dine, tuma bina banchi hue bhabita nathili dine, tuma bina gai hue, tuma bina gai hue bharosa nathila mane, tuma bina banchi hue bhabita nathili dine. And it was a hit with the youngsters. So you can see how the packaging makes a lot of difference. The last example I will give you is an English one, like he gave the example of Rasputin. And I always give the example of this movie, Sound of Music. The lyric that was chosen was, somewhere in my youth and childhood, I must have done something good. Nothing comes from nothing, nothing ever could. So somewhere in my youth and childhood, I must have done something good. It's part of a poem. So when this was fit into the movie, because you see, when we're talking about movie making, then the planning of a song again makes a lot of difference. So the song is this, it's a riverside. The two lead characters are standing holding hands, and the song is going on. The song was like this. Somewhere in my youth or childhood, I must have done something good. Nothing comes from nothing, must have done something good. And later on, Salzburg. Salzburg is the city in Austria where this movie was shot. It shot into fame because of the shooting of Sound of Music, and thousands of people came back and they wanted to stand by the riverside where this song had been shot because it had touched and rekindled the fire of love or maybe romance in the hearts of thousands of millions of people. We have just celebrated Valentine's Day, and there was once again a whole lot of people who went and this song was played, and they have this sing-along tour agency where you can just take a karaoke track, and most of them sang this. And when we were asking the people, what did you feel when you sing this? They said, we just felt happy. So I think literature or music, they basically are talking about universal emotions. So somewhere along the way, they are replicating what we undergo. So I think as a part of the musical session, we have given you a great variety of songs. Now I'll just touch upon one aspect. I think 2016, Bob Dylan won the Nobel Prize for Literature and not music, and there was a lot of controversy regarding that. Though the very honorable and celebrated Rabindranath Tagore in 1913, I think, received the Nobel Prize for Literature for Gitanjali, and it was in the verse form, there was no controversy there. Because I have read, I have not really liked Bob Dylan's songs a lot, but when he got Nobel, I found that there were some of his songs which were pretty good. And when I went across the arguments, I found that till then, all Nobel Prize winners in literature had either been fiction writers or poetry, non-fiction. I don't know about theatre. I mean, there are a lot of respected people in the audience who would know more than me, but they had never included, lyric. And lyric of Bob Dylan's kind was, I don't know, I mean, there was Adonis, who was a writer who was very close in the race, and losing out to Adonis seemed, Bob Dylan's works, that sparked a controversy actually. So, literature, lyric and music are sister arts, but is lyric literature? So my question now regarding that, I think I would ask both my panelists that what is your take on this? That a Nobel Prize going to a singer lyricist, is that a good sign? I mean, are we finally accepting lyrics into the fold of literature? Because in Odisha and Bhubaneswar, we also have a lot of Giti Kavita associations, Giti Kavita writers who say, why aren't we getting an award and why aren't we being recognized? Aren't we doing literature as well? So I will ask Dr. Gosain to give her valuable comments on this.
I will go for this because lyrics is literature. So it's natural he got this. So lyric and music. So when both the things he has mastered. So the prize was right. But I must say, what Adyasha was showing a little before, and Mr. Mohanty was also telling about these compositions. So why these changes come? We live in a society. An artist of any field, so he has to or she has to collect her ingredients from the society itself. The society inspires, and from the whatever is going on, so it only inspires him and give the ingredients to put it into his or her art. So that's why the songs, the one song is set to one rag and then it is changed to another rag. Still it is accepted. Why? Because it also caters to those emotions. It touches your heart. It has been composed according to what the poet wants to evoke. So if that is properly done, so it will be accepted anywhere it will have an universal appeal. But the songs, you must have heard many songs didn't get any popularity. Because, and you will not remember or you will not murmur the songs. So like, there are, just to give one little example, in 1980, this dowry system was very much prevalent in Odisha. So you must be remembering, so me and my sister, Dr. Suchitra, so we sang a song against dowry, that is Dui Samudoni. It was a hit. There was nothing very, and something very grand with the composition. But the lyric was such, and the tuning which was given is a folkish tune, so which was very appealing. People could take it immediately, and that was the problem at that time. So it was a hit. So time also is a factor, and what the happenings, what is happening. So that also helps to popularize a lyric at that time. See, one Sare Jahan Se Acha, we all sing Sare Jahan Se Acha Hindustan Hamara. So 100% people like this. But many people have done many compositions, many tunings different. But we don't hear them. Lata Mangeshkar has sung this, and she has also sung Sare Jahan Se Acha Hindustan Hamara Hum bulbule Isaki Hai Gulsita Hamara Sare Jahan Se Acha. This is also a good one. But because the other tuning has come before and we all loved it, we could not go for the second one. So there are many things which comes into popularizing and setting the notes of the music and literature. So when we go to the traditional songs, so like nobody knows who has done those tunings, but those tunings are done much carefully with taking the emotion of the words. So like Uthilu Edebegi Kahinkire Dukhidana. Nobody knows who has done it. It has done in a raga. And what is a raga? It's a combination of certain notes. The Shuddha and Komala notes, the pure notes, and the other Vikruta Sura we call them. So the notes also has a proper meaning, and notes adds to the emotion. So like if I sing okay, I'll first come to that Uthilu Edebegi Kahinkire. Uthilu Edebegi Kahinkire Dhono Uthilu Edebegi Kahinkire. Yashoda is singing. So just think of when you are sleeping and somebody is coming and waking you up. So it has to be soothing. It has to be slow. Otherwise you will lose your temper easily. So how they have thought of taking this raga and the notes and the rhythm to accompany it. And some years before, so there is a champu. Bhangi Jahan Bhangi Burunila Bhujangi Brahmara Jiva Sangi Bhangi. So in this Odisha Research Center, one young boy, he had come. So he was dancing as a robot with a computer. So he said, Madam, I sang this song in Barampur like this. So how was it? Bhangi cha, 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 bhangi cha, cha, cha. So which one you are going to accept? But the present generation, they loved it. And they are dancing and changing this tune to this. But which is acceptable and which is well rooted, it will be like that. And which touches your heart, that is real music, and which expresses the ethos of the lyric, that is the music, and literature is that which is expressed properly and reaches our heart. That's what I believe.
Thank you. I think you very beautifully, answered what I basically asked. Is like you went on to say that yes, recognition for lyric writers is a very welcome step, and it's because what touches the heart matters more. So in fact, despite the controversy, I think because of the controversy, Bob Dylan himself could not also rejoice about the award for a long time. But in his acceptance speech, he had mentioned about a particular line which I would like to quote here, which Homer had said, "Sing in me, O muse, and through me tell the story." So for him, music comes first, and then the story. And maybe for someone else, the story comes first, and then the music. So we revisit literature through music, and we revisit music through literature. We are drawing to a close, and I'm very much aware of the indication of time. Thank you. But towards the end, I would just like to, because I think we've done the whole gamut of things about music and literature. We've touched upon different aspects. I would like to talk about this commercialization of both literature and music, because like in the era of Facebook, let us not go to the psychology of Facebook, because there are certain good things about it as well. Many good things about it. Maybe that I can ask for a different session. But we are also experimenting with new forms. So in that kind of thing, since we are talking about what touches the heart, I would like my last question to go to Mr. Mohanty. Which, according to you, is the more popular, more effective genre which touches the mind? Is it literature or music?
Literature is literature, music is music, and when literature meets music, it makes a beautiful creation. And now the younger generation, actually, as rightly said by Dr. Gosain, any form, maybe it's music, painting, or literature, whatever, this is a reflection of the society. Now, people are, they're busy. There are a lot of things to do in a single day. They have very less time for relaxation. So everything, in every action, they need something faster. The food is fast, the mode of communication is fast, travel is fast. So also the music and literature. If you go for a slow song, it will not be accepted by the younger generation, because always they are on move, putting their headphones on, and their music player on, riding a bike or a car, whatever. So they are always on move. So they want to access their music or literature on move. So this digital platform is the solve now. So every time, now people don't have any time to sit somewhere and read a book. So they are just switching it on and listening to the audio book. And how far music is concerned, so when they're driving a car or a bike, so they are on move, so they need something faster. So they are putting their headphone and listening some, they are responding the faster numbers more. So when I took some initiative by reviving the old classic literatures, because they are going, younger generation, they are going away from our classic things. So this is our moral duty to bring them back, or to be them rooted to their soil. So I took some initiative by making some classical writings, turning into songs. Like I did so many things. Like first I have experimented with Man Singh's poetry, Ei Sahakara Kale. That's been well accepted. Then I did Fakir Mohan, which both of Dr. Gosain and Adyasha, both of them, they sang in that. And people are, they're accepting it. My tunes are, even though slow, but the packaging is in such a fashion I did it. So it will attract the younger generations also to the form of music. When they listen the song, they take interest. So what it contains, I mean the literature. So this is our duty to attract them in such a fashion. So they will be get entertainment, and so also they will be connected to their old literatures, and so also the contemporary literatures. And this is our duty. We somewhere lack to present the things in a proper manner. That's why they are going away. But I'm quite optimistic, because many invaders, they came, they have invaded, they have tried to impose their form of literature, their form of music on us, on the Indians. But our tradition is so deep-rooted, and so our foundations are so strong. We are going to shine one day. Clouds cannot cover sun. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think, as you know, when literature and music meet, a lot of things happen. So, a lot of things did happen in the last 45 minutes. At the outset, I would like to extend my deep thanks and gratitude to my co-panelists in this session, Dr. Sangita Gosain and Sri Omprakash Mohanty, for setting aside their valuable time and, more important, sharing such wonderful experiences. I am coming to that. Do we have time for questions? Okay. Please tell your question is directed to whom, and you can ask your question.
I have two questions. Music sangre besi mane interaction nahi mora technically, but still gote this mind pasle ki music agur nature thila ame seta ko extract kolu to ame taku kichi upare bandilu seta sare gama padanisa kiba komal notes jaha to saru re bhitere kiba komal re ru re bhitere auri kichi notes joda luchi ki rohuchi सेटा को हमें किसी गोटे पर्टिकुलर नोट्स देई कि हमें म्यूजिक टा को आर वी पुटिंग ए लिमिटेशंस ऑन म्यूजिक और वी आर एनहांसिंग म्यूजिक इन दिस वे.
You are asking a very technical questions, and it is clearly defined in music classes. Actually, when we learn music, we learn about shrutis. There are 22 shrutis. In between sa and komal there are 4 fragmentation. And our mind is not that receptive. You have to go for a meditation session first. That's why when we learn, we are not allowed to jump one note to another. Our teachers, they guide us to do sa only. Sa to komal re, there are 4 fragmentation. Those are called, there are, there's a gap. They have this, each shruti has got name, they have got characters, they have got dress codes, they have got color, like Kumudavati, Chandeta, Mandra. There are 22. These are all intricacies of the music. And in general, for a common man, this transition, sa to komal re or sudhare, whatever, the gap is known as shrutis. And to do those things, actually it took years to learn about those things and those intricacies. One will have to be very calm, because there is no such instrument who can now, in digitally you can simulate the sound, you can make fragmentation and you can specify, yes, this is the first shruti or second shruti or third shruti or fourth shruti. But it's very difficult, and if somebody is taking interest, and you'll have to practice very calm, you'll have to keep cool, to understand or to realize those things. These are very final aspect of music.
I have one more question, please, to ma'am. कि सबु माने जेतो लिटरेचर एंड म्यूजिक जगह हम अछि कोन सबु कविता म्यूजिक हवा उचित ना किछि कविता केवल कविता रूप रे ही शोभा.
एटा उचित अनुचित कथा नहीं. It depends on you. जदि तुमको भल लागला, you can make it a music. Jadi, it depends on every individual, his choice. ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ଏଇଠି ବୋଧେ ଟିକେ ଆଗରୁ ବସିଥିଲେ ଏଇଠି ମଙ୍ଗଳା କବି, ସେ ବହୁତ ଗୁଡ଼େ ଗୀତ ଲେଖିଛନ୍ତି. ସେ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଆମେ ତାକୁ ପଢ଼ୁଛୁ, ଆମେ ଲାଗୁଛି ଏଇଟା ଏତେ କ୍ଲିଷ୍ଟ, ଆମେ ନ କଲେ ଭଲ ହୁଅନ୍ତା. କିନ୍ତୁ ତାଙ୍କର ଯେହେତୁ ଇଚ୍ଛା ହେଲା, ତେଣୁ ସମସ୍ତେ କଲେ, କଲା ପରେ ଭଲ ହେଲା. ତେଣୁ ଲିରିକ୍ ବି କେତେ ରହିଛି, ତାକୁ ସବୁ ଲିରିକ୍ କ'ଣ ହେଇପାରିବ କି? It's not possible to translate every lyric to music. तेणु सबू लिरिक किंतु बोला जाई पारिबो कि डिपेंड्स जति कि हम पाखरे अवेलेबल तेणु लिरिक भाव गीति कविताटा रिसाइट भी करा होची ना केते बढ़िया तो इट्स योर चॉइस.
Thank you. Since we have come to the end of the panel, I would like to say thanks to all of you. May your lives always be enriched with literature and music.
Thank you so much, respected panel members, for such a melodious session.